Okay, very good afternoon all. So it's 2:15. Let's start the class. Please confirm with an yes if all the three things are fine. Audio, video, and the screen. Okay, thank you, Jhansi and Vishwa. So I hope that everything is fine. So let's start the class then. So student, in the earlier session of today's class, the main thing that we have discussed was the concept of location of the roots of a quadratic equation, right? Five cases arise a student, right? The first three cases are comparison of the location of the roots of a quadratic equation with only one number, right? If both the roots are less than one given number k, so it is the first case. One of the root is greater, but the other root is less than k, it is the second case. Both the roots are greater than k, it is the third case. Then the fourth and fifth case are with respect to two numbers, right? So for the two given numbers, if only one root lies between the two given numbers, it is the fourth case. If both the roots lie between the given two numbers, it is the fifth case, right? A detailed analysis we have already made, student. As a summary, right, I have told you the easiest way of remembering this is, just remember that there are three kinds of condition. The first one is a discriminant greater than equal to 0. Second one is, the value of the function into a, right? So yes, so how do you remember this? The value of the function into a will be positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So it is alternative plus minus. Or the only thing that you should keep in your mind is only in the second line and in the fourth line it is negative. In all other cases it will be positive, right? Only in the second line and fourth line it is negative. Remaining all cases it is positive. Also remember, student, since there are two numbers in fourth and fifth case, you will get two things, f of k1 and f of k2. And a special thing about the fourth case is you can club both the results and you can just write one single equation, which is this. However, in the fifth one, you need to do it separately, right? And the third column is nothing but location of the vertex with respect to the given number. If both the roots are less, even the vertex will be less. If both the roots are greater, then the vertex will also be greater. If both the roots are lying between k1 and k2, then vertex will also lie between k1 and k2, right? So student, we have solved one question, I think, based on fifth one and first line, right? Usually get three conditions which we should mark on the number line, and whatever common region that we see in all the three colors, all the three conditions, that is the final answer. Okay, so continuing with this, students, this is the next question that we will solve. Look at the question. The question says, students, A, B, C, D are the four numbers, they are written in the ascending order, and they're saying that the equation has, right? So they have given some equation and they are saying that there are four numbers which are in this order. So the question is about whether real and distinct root, purely imaginary, real and equal, and then none. So here, student, the question is basically to identify the nature of the roots. Fine. As you can see here, student, first thing is you should observe that even the given equation looks somewhat different, it is nothing but a quadratic equation only. Yes, this when multiplied will be a quadratic equation, and this also when multiplied will be a quadratic equation. Addition of two quadratic equation will be again a quadratic equation, right? It doesn't look like, obviously like a quadratic, but it is ultimately just a quadratic equation. Now for this quadratic equation, the question is, tell me, the question is asking, tell whether the roots of this quadratic equation is real, imaginary, or what. So we know that, student, in order to identify the nature of the roots, right? Basically we can, identify the nature of the roots even with the help of location of the roots. Okay, we should have some idea about the graph of this quadratic equation. Now in this question, student, there are four unknowns, right? A, C, B, and D. With the help of this, students, if you use the condition discriminant greater than or equal to 0, or if we try to calculate the value of discriminant, which is b square minus 4ac, we should first simplify that and then get that discriminant. Even if we do that, student, it will not be very easy to proceed further because there are 4 unknowns, right? None of this A, B, C, D, we know the actual value. So even if you get D, something in terms of A, Q, B, etc., whatever it is, we may not in a position to get a conclusion very easily. So just finding the value of discriminant and then doing it directly may not be useful. Then what can be done, students? See, this particular question has come under the concept of location of the roots. And we know that, student, whatever it is, there are 5 cases in location of the roots. Let me just go back to that chart. In all of those cases, student, irrespective of the case, in all the cases, one thing that you will calculate for sure, and that is the second thing. Yes, that means the value of A into f of k, right? The value of A into f of k will be required irrespective of line that you are talking about. If it is second line, maybe this is not required and this is not required. But irrespective of your line, A into f of A, that will be required in any of the lines. Okay, so this is one thing, student, right? So we are just seeing that whether whatever location of roots we have learned, whether this is going to help us. Why are we thinking in that direction, students? See here, whenever in a quadratic equation, the question mentions about some values. For example, look at this. Here they're saying that A, B, C, D are 4 numbers. Okay, so they're talking about the 4 numbers. In a quadratic equation, whenever they talk about any number, you should understand that it might be related to location of roots. And you can see these numbers as K1, K2, etc. Okay. Now, whatever it is, student, just by looking at this, we are not getting much idea. So what we will do is, irrespective of whatever it is, we should surely calculate f of k into A, as I just showed you on the table. Now, let us assume that, student, these are the k values. Maybe there are 4 such k values. Let us calculate this and see whether we get some information from that. Let me calculate f of A. First of all, I will assume f of x is equal to 3 into x minus A, x minus C, plus 5 into x minus B into x minus D. So remember, student, in a quadratic equation question, if at all any number is given in the question, maybe you may have to calculate f of that number. It might be useful because in the concept of location of roots, you must calculate f of that number k. Fine. There are 4 numbers given in the question. Let us calculate them. If you just see what is the value of f of A, right? So when A is put here, student, I hope you can understand, if A is put, this becomes 0. So I'll be getting first term as 0 because 0 into anything will be 0. If you look at the second term, student, if I put A here, 5 into A minus B into A minus D. Yes. So if you look at the students, can you tell anything about this? You know, is this particular line giving you any kind of information? Is there any information that you can extract from this line? So this is nothing but 5 into A minus B into A minus D. Now remember here, student, they have given information that, you know, A, B, C, D are in the increasing order. That means, student, even though I do not know the value of this, since the value is not given, we cannot calculate the value. But what information is given in the question is they are in the increasing order. That means D is greater than A and even B is greater than A because A is the smallest number. So we know that, student, this thing will be, you know, this will be as it is. But what about the first thing here? This will be negative quantity and this will also be negative quantity. Why? Because this B is bigger, right? A is smaller. Since A is smaller, smaller minus big is negative and negative. Negative into negative, student, positive. So we got the information that it is positive. Right? Fine. Let us do the same thing for rest of the points, right? We are not getting any numerical value, we're just getting the sign. Maybe that might also be useful. If I now calculate f of B, look at this very carefully. In this expression, if I put x is equal to B everywhere, and when I put B value here, this becomes 0, or the entire thing will become 0. And if I put B here, student, this will result in 3 into B minus A, and then B minus C plus 0. Can anyone tell me what can you say about this particular line? Yes, obviously value we cannot say that, but since they have given information about which one is bigger than which one, we can at least say whether this is positive or negative. Yes, can anyone tell me whether this quantity is positive or negative? So there's no doubt, students, right? This first expression will be positive and second will be negative because B is bigger than A, but B is smaller than C. So we can say that positive into negative will be negative. So that is your conclusion. Okay, next, f of C. Now f of C, student, once again, if you just look at this, I will put x is equal to C everywhere. When I put C here, this becomes 0, right? So I will get 0 plus 5 into C minus B into C minus D. Yes, any conclusion, student? Yes. We know that, student, C is greater than B, so this is positive, but however, C is lesser than C, okay, lesser than D, so this will be negative. So positive into negative will finally be negative. Okay, the last number which is given in the question is, student, f of D. Let us calculate that, right? So as you can see here, when I put D everywhere, when I put D here, this vanishes. This becomes 0. And when I put D here and here, what happens? We would get 3 into D minus A, D minus C plus 0. Yes. Any conclusion, student? What can I say? Value we cannot say, but we can surely say that this is positive into positive. Why? Because D is the biggest number, so a bigger minus smaller and a bigger minus smaller are positive. Okay. So the final thing is, student, f of D is positive. Positive. F of C is negative, right? And f of A, yes, f of A is also positive. And then f of B is negative. Fine. Okay, since the actual value of A was not given, it is not obviously possible to get the actual value, but we can still get the nature of the expressions, right? Because they have given the relative, order of these 4 numbers. With the help of this information, student, if we try to draw a rough diagram of this particular quadratic equation, because if we know a rough diagram of this quadratic equation, even that will help us, to tell whether the roots are real or imaginary. If you look at the question carefully, student, I will write first of all 4 numbers like this: A, B, C, D. 4 numbers are there. Now, student, the information that I got by putting is, at x is equal to A, the value of the function is positive. That means at this point, I have some positive height. Remember, student, f of A is nothing but height at the point A. So the height is positive above x-axis. Similarly, at the point B and C, we got negative. Hence, student, at both of this point, I will say some negative height. They may not be equal, student, but some negative height. And finally, student, even at the point D, we got positive. So let us say that that was some kind of positive value like this. Now, student, with the help of this, can anyone tell me the answer? And one more very important thing is, student, this quadratic equation is looking upwards. Why? Because, student, the total coefficient, the final coefficient of x square is positive. Why, students? If you multiply this with this, x square you will get, and then 3. So that is positive, right? And at the same time, when you multiply this with this, you will also get x square with a coefficient of 5. So the total coefficient of x square will be 3 plus 5, which is positive. Very good, Devdutt. Devdutt is saying option A is correct. So let us see whether that is correct or not. So, student, we know that the quadratic equation will surely be looking upwards because, when you do the multiplication, the coefficient of x square will be positive. Okay, fine. And roughly, student, even our, whatever 4 points we got, that is also suggesting the same thing. If I just try to draw a parabola, which is looking upwards through these 4 points, I will get somewhat like this. Now, with the help of this diagram, student, which of the 4 options you think is correct? Yes. Look at this carefully, student. So there is no doubt, student, the parabola should compulsorily, cut the x-axis, because for one of the point, there's a positive value for parabola, and for another point, there's a negative value. Because of this, student, one root will surely happen, because here there was a positive, here there's a negative. So obviously somewhere, the graph will pass through 0. After that, again, C value was a negative and D value was a positive. That means somewhere between C and D, there will be some 0. Okay. I hope that, student, you understood this. That means you will surely find two intersection point on the x-axis, this and this. That means what? Real and distinct solution. Okay. So from the diagram, we can directly say option A is correct. Okay, fine, students. So I hope that you understood this question, right? Even though there were 4 unknowns A, B, C, D, whose numerical value we were not knowing, still just by the relative information like A is lesser than, B is lesser than, C is lesser than D, right? Just by calculating the functional values, we got the conclusion. Okay, students. So I hope everyone understood. Let us go on to the next question. Try this. Read the question carefully. It is somewhat related to the previous one, similar to the previous one. What is given here? Okay, so here also two numbers are given, student, right? In a quadratic equation, if a number is given, then maybe you may have to calculate f of those numbers. Fine. B is greater than A, and then they're saying that what can you say about this particular equation? What can you say about this equation? Yes. So we can do an analysis like in the previous one, student. Let us calculate what is f of A and f of B. Okay. So if I calculate f of A, what would happen, students? First of all, let us assume f of x is x minus A into x minus B minus 1. Now, f of A, right? The value of f of A will be what, students? So basically it will be minus 1. Can you understand? Because I would say A minus A into A minus B minus 1. So once this is 0, the entire thing will be 0, and then you'll be having only minus 1. Right? So in the same way, student, if we try to calculate f of B, even that will be the same thing, because the moment you put B in this equation here, this becomes 0, right? You will just get minus 1. So you'll just get B minus A into B minus B. So this will be minus 1. So that means, student, what conclusion we are getting here is both at A and B, the height is negative. Yes, we know that, student, even if we know the little bit information about the height, we can draw a rough diagram, okay, the rough graph of the quadratic equation. As you can see here, once again, when you do the multiplication of this, x into x will give you x square, and the coefficient will be plus 1 when you do this multiplication. Yes. Only when this is getting multiplied with this, you will get x square, and then the coefficient will be 1. Vishwa, very good, Vishwa. Vishwa has already given the answer. That is correct, Vishwa. Fine. So since the coefficient of x square is positive 1, this is a quadratic equation which is again looking upwards. Fine. Other than that, student, we got the information that for two values A and B, the height is minus 1. We got the height as minus 1. Right? So basically it will be exactly minus 1 at these 2 points. Now, student, you just have to draw a quadratic equation such that it is surely passing through these two and then looking upwards. So there is no doubt, student, a quadratic equation which is looking upwards and passing through these 2 points will look like this only. Okay, it is surely looking upwards, student, because for the quadratic equation, the coefficient of x square is positive. If you multiply this, the coefficient will be 1. After that, we know that at A and B, at the two values A and B, the height is minus 1, right? F of A represents height at the point A. So it is minus 1 and minus 1, right? So once you have drawn this graph, if you just look at the 4 options, the first option says that both the roots are in A and B. Obviously, student, the roots are here, right? One root is here another root is here. So it is not in the interval which is inside A and B, right? The first option says that both the roots are inside A and B. So that is not the case, student, but it is opposite. Both the roots are opposite, outside A and B region. Okay, the option B says both the roots are in the interval of minus infinity to A. So they're saying that this region, right? A and minus infinity. So A to minus infinity to this region. So obviously, student, in that region only one root is there. So the correct answer is, student, one root is in this region, that is from A to minus infinity, and then another root is between B to plus infinity. Okay, and that is exactly matching in option number D. One root in the left region, right, below A, and the other root is greater than B. That is what you can see in the graph. One is lesser than A, another root is greater than B. Okay, fine, students. So I hope that everyone understood these two questions. Okay, let us go to the next important concept, student, right? The range or the maximum and minimum values of rational function involving linear or quadratic equation. Okay, what is the meaning of the heading? So I'm talking about range or minimum or maximum values of a rational function involving linear or quadratic equation. Here, L stands for linear, and wherever I have written Q, it would stand for quadratic expression. So what are we going to learn in this, student, right? So you might have already learned in the chapter called relation and function, what is meant by a rational function. A rational function is a function, student, which is nothing but ratio of two polynomial. Yes, if you divide one polynomial equation with another polynomial equation, that ratio is called as rational function. Now we are talking about the rational function only, but not of a random thing. It may not be of cubic, biquadratic, or etc. We are restricting our discussion only when they are involvement of linear and quadratic. Okay, not bigger than that. Fine. So now, students, when you're solving, you may get some questions in your JEE examination where we might be interested in finding if a quadratic expression is given, what is the maximum or minimum value of this? So that maximum to minimum value itself is, student, range of this function. Yes. If I ask you what is range of f of x is equal to some quadratic expression, what will you say? You will say collection of all the values of y. Now, if I say collection of all the values of y, there will be some minimum value starting point and there will be some maximum limit. So, basically y will be taking the values between that minimum and maximum. So, if the question is, right, when you're solving any question on JEE, if the question is to, if you are required to find the maximum and minimum value of any of these kind of rational function, then you should use the technique that I'm going to discuss now. Right? Fine. So I will basically, basically there are two kinds of questions here. The first one is you just have a quadratic expression and then the reciprocal of quadratic expression. This is category 1. In this, you can get the answer directly. Okay. So what we are doing is we are finding what are all the possible values of this quadratic expression. What is the minimum value of this and what would be the maximum value? So from that minimum value to the maximum value, that itself is act as range of y. Okay. So here, if I just have to give a clear idea here. So what I'm telling you here is, if you have a quadratic expression like this, right? Now, when I talk about the range, student, it is nothing but collection of all the values on the y-axis such that perpendicular from that cuts the graph, right? For a parabola, for this particular example, the minimum height is this and the maximum height is infinity. So if I ask you, student, for this graph, what is collection of all the possible values of y, you will say that y will be all the values starting from this minimum value up to infinity. Yes, because for all those values on the y-axis, the perpendicular cuts the graph. Okay, fine. So basically what we have to do is we just have to find the minimum and maximum value. Okay, if we have quadratic or 1 by quadratic, we can do it directly. However, student, if you have linear 1 by linear 2, that means two different linear equation, linear by quadratic, quadratic by linear, or quadratic by quadratic. Any of the, rational function of second type, you should do it indirectly. And whenever you did directly quadratic and then 1 by quadratic, you can do it directly. What is direct, what is indirect, that will be very clear when I'm solving the example next. Okay. So in indirect, what we will do is we'll basically separate out x. Okay. We will be separating out x. Separate out x and find all y values such that x is real. So student, if you remember this concept we have discussed in the chapter of domain and range already. Okay, but here we are specifically restricting our studies to quadratic equation. Okay, fine students. So you will understand the correct meaning of this when I solve the question. You should first separate out x, then find all the values of y such that x is real. Fine. First, let us solve a simple question which is based on direct. Okay. So this is the first example. The first thing is, student, whatever your function is given, you should assume it as y, right? Whatever f of x is there, just assume it as y. Okay, fine. So now, student, if I ask you what is the range of this function, right? There's a function in front of you. What is the range? Range means collection of all the possible values of y. So it is very simple, student. You can directly write the answer of this. How, student? First of all, this is a parabola which is looking upwards. So if a parabola is looking upwards, student, basically you will be having a minimum point. And we know that, student, this coordinate is given by minus b by 2a comma minus d by 4a. Okay. For this particular, variety of question, we don't, actually want this thing. We just want this height, right? Whatever height is happening at this vertex, that is the minimum height. And obviously the maximum height is not required to be calculated. It will be infinity only. If the graph was like this, students, if the graph was like this, then the maximum height will be this and the minimum height will be minus infinity. Okay, fine. Okay, so let us just try to do this. We don't have to worry about this. We just have to calculate this. If I calculate the value of this, I would get D will be, student, A, B, C, right? B square minus 4 into 1, right? Both A and C are 1. This is minus D, right? Divided by 4A. Divided by 4 into A is 1. So this will be, student, what will I get? Minus will be outside. This will be 1. And there will be minus 4 here. Divided by 4. So this will be, student, minus of minus 3 divided by 4. Which will be, student, 3 by 4. That means, student, this height is 3 by 4. Okay. So we can directly say that, student, the range is given by 3 by 4 up to infinity. Yes, including 3 by 4 because obviously that point is included in the graph. Okay, so if I whatever I have written here, student, this is collection of all the values on the y-axis such that perpendicular from that cuts the graph, and such collection of y values itself is called as range. Not only that, student, from this range I can say that this is the minimum value of this quadratic expression and this is the maximum value. Okay, I hope that everyone understood how to find minimum and maximum value of any quadratic expression. We have already learned the formula to find, height corresponding to the vertex. The other value will be either infinity or it will be minus infinity if it is like this. Fine. So the next variety is, student, when you have a quadratic expression in the denominator. Let us see how to solve this kind of question. A very simple, student, right? We have also done this kind of question, but it will be a kind of recall for you guys. Look at this very carefully. So now, student, just for saving time, I have not taken a different quadratic expression. I have taken the same thing that was there in the first example. Okay, fine. So what you should do in this case is, student, see, in this question, okay, I'll first finish this. Okay. Now we already know that student, this particular thing will have a minimum and maximum value which is given by this. Let me just write this student. What will I get? I will say the range will be 1 divided by, it starts from 3 by 4 and it goes up to infinity. But student, this is not the final answer. You should simplify it further. So just take the reciprocal, right? If I take the reciprocal of this, that will get converted into 3 by 4, sorry, 4 by 3. And obviously that point is included. And what about student, the reciprocal of infinity? Yes, the reciprocal of infinity student 0. Okay, fine. So now the only thing is student, you should be very careful, you should be very careful because infinity was not included here. Even 0 cannot be included. And also student, one very important thing is you cannot tell your final answer like this. Why? Because this is a bigger value and this is a smaller value. So you will finally say that your range is from 0, 4 by 3. This is the correct answer. Okay, fine. So as of now, students, you do not know how the graph of this looks like, right? Maybe some of you can draw it. Anyway, even if you can't draw it, how can you draw it? Just make a small table, put the value of x and put the value of f of x. That is one way of drawing the graph. Okay. When you come to second PU students, we will learn some other, higher advanced topics with the help of which you can draw a rough graph of this. Okay, fine. So students, right? See, this is basically reciprocal of the previous one. So there's a technique involved here. I think I have already told you that in the trigonometric equation also. Right? I hope you remember. This will be a recall for that. Yes. So if this was the graph of, okay, if this was the graph of previous function, that is x square minus x plus 1. If the graph of the previous function is this, then the graph of reciprocal. If I want the graph of reciprocal of this function, what I should do is student, remember this height is 3 by 4. If I want the reciprocal of this, what I should do is wherever 1 is there, right? Wherever 1 is there, that will be as it is. Other than that, in order to take the reciprocal of this, wherever this is becoming infinity, that will become 0. We know that student, this will try to touch the infinity when it is going right and right. So when I go right and right, the reciprocal function will be somewhat like this. It will approach the 0, right? And the same thing will happen here also, right? So basically the graph will be somewhat like this. This will be a rough graph of 1 by x square minus x plus 1. How did I do it, student? Very simple. I basically know that this is the vertex, and for the green color, for the blue color, the value was 3 by 4, right? If I take the reciprocal of 3 by 4, I will get 4 by 3. Obviously, 4 by 3 is greater than 3 by 4. So corresponding to that vertex, I will get higher value. So this is 4 by 3. And other than that, student, we know that when this goes right side, it is approaching infinity. Hence, on the reciprocal, it will be approaching 0. So same thing happens this side also, right? I think that basics of this I have covered when drawing the graph of cosec function with the help of sine function. I hope you remember that. Okay, exactly similar thing we are doing here to get a rough graph of this. So as you can see here, student, for the reciprocal of this quadratic expression, the values on the y-axis are only from 0 up to 4 by 3. And to be more precise, student, you cannot include 0 here because this graph is not actually touching the x-axis. Only when this is touching the x-axis, 0 should be included. So that is why it is excluded here. Okay, fine. Okay, students, so this is how you find the maximum and minimum value for a reciprocal of quadratic expression. Just write the minimum and maximum value of quadratic equation and then simplify. That's all. Okay, fine. So this is the direct approach, student. You did not do anything else. You directly wrote the minimum maximum value with the help of this formula, this particular formula. Okay. The next thing is, student, right? When you have ratio of linear or ratio of two quadratic or any other thing. So when I say any other thing, any of these four, there are 4 things here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I will just do this and this, students. The same method you should apply if you get this or this. Okay, I'll be doing the lowest one and then the highest one. If you get any question of this or this type, you should do exactly what we are doing for this or this. Fine. Okay, to be more precise, these two questions will be similar to this. Okay, if I have to be more precise, these three are related. Okay, but the main idea is same for all those four questions. The main idea is same. Okay, students. So now the question is here: if f of x is equal to this function, that is ratio of two linear function, then what is the maximum and minimum value of this, or what is the collection of values of y? In the chapter domain and range, okay, in the concept when we learned about domain and range, we know that student, if the question was to find the domain of this, if the question was to find the domain of this, what you will do is you will write the domain of this, you will write the domain of this, find the intersection of these two, and then subtract those values which makes this denominator 0, right? So I hope you remember that concept. Whenever you have ratio of two functions, that is how you find domain. The domain is nothing but collection of all the values of x I can put here so that y, which is equal to this, is a real number, right? So domain is collection of all the values of x we can put here so that this output, which is assigned as y, is basically a real number. Fine. I hope that student, you will not have any problem if I say that the collection of all the values of x which I can put on this is everything. I can put any real number here. I can put any real number here. The ratio of two real number is always a real number, right? Domain is collection of all the values of x I can put here so that this whole thing is a real number. This will always be a real number, student, except at one condition, and that situation is when this becomes 0. Now, this would become 0, student, only when this is -3. So other than that, if I ask you what are the possible values of x such that this is a proper real number, answer is everything on the real number line except -3. Fine. That is that is basically how you will solve if the question was domain. But now, student, the question is range. So if the question is range, student, I hope you remember that for the question of range, you should basically find the inverse function. You should either find the inverse function or you should separate out x. You should find x is equal to something in terms of y. You should find something like this, right? Maybe you may have 2y plus 1 divided by something like this. So this thing you need to find. Now, how do you find something like this, student, right? You should basically separate out x. Whatever you get on the other side is your inverse function. This itself is your inverse function. Fine. So in order to separate out x, student, you should just cross multiply and collect all the x at one location. Just do that. You would get xy plus 3y is equal to 2x plus 1. Collect these two. What would you get, student? You will get y minus 2 into x is equal to 1 minus 3y. Okay. This went on the other side. We took x common. The left out term will be y minus 2. And if this comes on the other side, you get this. We wanted to separate out x. So you say x is equal to 1 minus 3y divided by y minus 2. So now, student, range is nothing but collection of all the possible values of y. So can you tell me, student, what is collection of all the possible values of y that I can put here so that x is real? Yes, what is collection of all the possible values of y I can put here? So there is no doubt, student, I can put all the real numbers here and I can put all the real numbers here. The ratio of one real number divided by another real number is always a real number, right? So I can put whatever I want except one value, and that value is 2. Okay, so I will say that, student, collection of all the values of y is nothing but y belongs to everything in this except 2. Okay, fine, students. So I hope that everyone understood this, right? What is the meaning of collection of all the possible values of y? Those values for which, when substituted in this, x is a real number. Okay, you put any real number divided by any other real number is always a real number. So you don't have to actually check that. But there is only one exception when the denominator becomes 0. And that would become only when this is 2. Other than that, you put any other real number in place of this position of y, you will always get some real number. Okay, hence the collection of all the possible values of y which I can put here so that this whole thing which is x is a real number is this. Okay, now whatever you're removing, student, you can just once again verify with your original question, right? This was the original question. Just check whatever removal we are doing here, whether it is inconsistent with this, okay, whether it is satisfying this or not. Fine, let us do that. So that means if I just put y is equal to 2, I will get, right, if I put y is equal to 2, I would get 2 is equal to 2x plus 1 divided by x plus 3. Cross multiply the students, you would get 2x plus 6 is equal to 2x plus 1. As you can see here, students, 2x cancels and you're getting 6 is equal to 1. So student, you're getting a conclusion which is not possible. Yes. So when I put y is equal to 0, when I put y is equal to 2, I'm getting some, unacceptable conclusion. So that is why, student, we need to subtract this 2. Okay, fine. So this is just for verification. Okay, so hence whatever 2 we have removed, that is a correct removal. Fine. Now someone, you may ask students why there was a necessity of doing this. Okay, we already know that since by putting y is equal to 2, this is going to become 0. Why are we, again checking this once again? Student, the reason is this. See, if this y divided by, if this y minus 2, if this y minus 2 was actually present in the question, see, this is the actual question. This is not the actual question, right? We manipulate the question, right? And then this came out. If this was the actual question, then there is no need of doing this. Okay. And if I ask you what are the proper values of x, if this is the question, and if I ask you what is collection of all the proper values of x, we would say everything except minus 3. And there is no need of secondary verification required. However, student, whenever we're getting answer from this, and this is not the actual question, we modified the question and we got this. Since we are removing a value of 2, from the modification, and that is not from the original question. We are removing the value of 2 from a modification of the question. It is very important that whatever you are removing, whether it is properly matching with the original question. So when you try to put 2 here, you're getting unacceptable answer here. Hence, it should be removed. And hence, whatever removal we're doing here, that is correct. Okay, fine. Okay, now the last variety, student, a quadratic equation divided by another quadratic equation. Yes, this is exactly similar to the previous one, right? But it will be little bit lengthy. Okay, in the previous one, student, it was very simple, right? We could easily guess what is the possible values of y I can put here so that this is real number. Okay, in this case, you will not get just a linear equation, you will get a quadratic equation. Okay, so let us see what to be done in this. Same thing, student, right? I hope that, student, you understood the meaning of this thing which I have written here, indirect method. So I have written here, student, the meaning of indirect is separate out x, which we did. After that, find all the values of y such that x is real. Okay, and that is exactly what we did here, student. We first separated out x, then we were just checking what are the collection of values of y I can put here so that this is a real number. This will always be a real number except at 2. Fine. Now, let us solve this. Same thing. Let us first assume that the given function is y. It makes our job simple. Cross multiply. The same thing, student. We should separate out x. If I'm asking you what is the range of this function, if I ask you what is the domain, you will write the domain of this, you will write the domain of this, minus those values which makes denominator 0, right? So for finding the domain, you should have your question in y separated form, right? To find the domain, y should be separated out. Hence, Range is some kind of, opposite of that. So to find the range of anything, you should separate out x. Let us do that. So if I multiply this denominator to upper thing, I will get yx square plus yx plus y is equal to x square minus x plus 1. It obviously, student, looks like a quadratic equation in x. Okay, let us bring this on left side. We would get y minus 1 into x square plus y plus 1 into x plus y minus 1 is equal to 0. I hope that, student, everyone understood. I just took this next to this, and this next to this becomes plus, and when I take this next to this, it becomes y minus 1. So now, student, this is a quadratic equation, right, in y. We actually never wanted a quadratic equation in x. What we wanted was, we wanted to separate out x. So now, student, it is little bit difficult to separate out x because there are two presents, and that too, their degrees are not matching, right? In the previous case, we had only one presence of x here. There was an x here and here, but their degrees were same. So we could have collected and taken it outside. But in these cases, the degrees are different. So what to be done, student? We should still somehow separate out x. If we can somehow separate out x is equal to something, then the same thing we should do. We should just think that what are the values of y I can put so that this is a real number. Yes, student. We cannot do it directly, student. It is very, very simple. You should just use quadratic formula. Okay, and this is very important type of question. Yes. So since it is a quadratic equation, student, use the quadratic formula only, and then you can easily separate out things. Yes, that is, I wanted to separate out x. By using the formula, I will achieve that. X is equal to minus b plus or minus. This is little bit of higher level of question. It is little bit lengthy. It is JEE advanced level of question. So you need to have little bit of focus. Fine. So what I'm doing here is minus b plus or minus b square. That is this square minus 4 into a into c. I hope you understood what I have done so far. Divided by 2 times of a. Yes, a, b, c. Now, student, what we should do is exactly same thing. What we did was, we need to think what are the values of y I can put here so that this is real. Yes, same thing, student. What are the values of y? But there are more presence of y here. There's a y here, 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 as well as here. So what are the values of y I can put on the RHS so that this x is real? That is what we should do now. Fine. First of all, student, we know that we can simplify this little bit, right? Let us do that. There's nothing we can do here. There's nothing we can do here. But this we can surely simplify. Y plus 1 plus or minus the root of, just use the whole square formula. And remember, student, this is also y minus 1 the whole square, right? This is y minus 1 whole square, and this is y plus 1 whole square. So I would say y square plus 2y plus 1 minus 4 into y square minus 4y plus 1. I have just used y minus 1 whole square formula. Whole divided by 2 into y minus 1. Now, students, you just have to do the subtraction, right? We have y square minus 4y square. That will be equal to what, students? That will be equal to, this will be as it is, plus or minus root of, right? I'm clubbing this y square with this thing. Okay. So what will I get? I will be getting minus 3y square, right? This minus this. Next, I have 2y here. This minus into minus will make it plus. Sorry, this will not be 4. This will be 2. Yes, thank you. Okay, so student, this minus sign with this minus will make it plus. So now 4 2s are 8. I will get 8y here, which will get added with this. So it will become 10y. And finally, student, there's a constant term here. And this minus 4, when it is multiplied with 1, you will get minus 4. That minus 4 with this 1 will make it minus 3. Okay. So I hope that everyone understood this. I have just simplified these two. Divided by 2 times of y minus 1. So this is the value of x. Okay, fine. Now finally students, as you can see here, what we wanted to do finally is, what is the collection of values of y? There's no other simplification that you can do. The only thing you should do is, you should just think, what are the values of y I can put on the RHS so that this whole quantity is positive. So student, you cannot, you don't have to worry about this thing and this thing. Why student? See, if this was not there, student, what you would have done is, you would have said that the answer is, I can put every value of y except 1. Because when you put y is equal to 1, you will get something divided by 0, which is not a real number. So if this particular thing was not there, you would have said the answer is, everything from the real number I can put here and here except one value, which is 1. Fine. So now student, that means what? If this was not there, answer is real number minus 1. But now when this is coming student, we need to make sure that this whole thing is a real number. This whole thing will be a real number student if and only if this quantity is non-negative, right? If this is negative, square root of negative will be a complex number. It will not be a real number. So we should ensure that we are not getting a square root of a negative number, but this should be either positive or 0. So the only thing we should be worrying here is student, this minus 3y square plus 10y minus 3 should be either positive or it should be equal to 0, right? Other than that, you put any value of y here, even if you have a square root, right? Square root of, a non-negative number is an irrational number. Even that irrational number, when added to a real number here, divided by real number, as a whole, it will be a real number. Obviously, it will be irrational if, you have some root of which is not a perfect square. Okay, fine. So we are not worried student if you are getting a number here which is not a perfect square, but we should make sure that we don't get a negative here. Other than that, you put any value of y here, it is not a problem. This whole thing will always be a real number, except those values student which is making this root negative. Fine. So student, I'm putting condition of y saying that this particular thing should be positive or greater than 0. Let us just solve this. This is a quadratic equation student. You can solve this by wavy curve method. Okay. So if you try to factorize this, first thing what I will do students, I will multiply minus 1 on both the sides to get rid of this double minus. That is, if I multiply minus on both the sides, I hope you remember that the inequality reverses. I hope you remember that. Then this will be 3y square minus 10y plus 3 less than or equal to 0, right? Minus into 0 is 0. Now you just have to factorize this. If it is factorizable, it is easily factorizable student. You can write it as 9y minus y plus 3. Okay. You can take 3 common, y common, you will get y minus 3. Minus you can take common, y minus 3. Less than or equal to 0. So now if you take this finally common, this will be y minus 3 into 3y minus 1 less than or equal to 0. Okay, fine. So now what you got student, multiplication of these two things should be negative. You can once again go ahead with the wavy curve method, right? The solution for this particular thing is 3. And the value which will make this 0 is 1 by 3, right? So how do you do that? You just equate this to 0, right? You'll get 3y is equal to 1 or y is 1 by 3. Okay, so that is another critical point. So now finally student, what we wanted was, we wanted those values of y for which this entire thing is negative. Let us first draw the wavy curve. If I take any point here like 4, this will be positive. And if there's a 4 here, this will also be positive. So wavy curve will be like this. Okay, why? It will surely pass through all the critical points, and when it is passing through, it will go from upper side to lower side or from one side to another side. Why? Because the power is odd number here. Fine. We wanted the negative region, student, hence the answer is from here to here. Yes, I have included the endpoints here. I have included the endpoints. Why? Because there's an equal to sign here. Okay, I hope that everyone understood, why the final answer is from 1 by 3 up to 3. Okay, so this is the answer. So I would say y belongs to 1 by 3 comma 3, including them. But student, I hope that you have not forgotten that we need to subtract some value. Do you remember, student, which value we need to subtract? Do you remember? Yes, very good, student, that is correct. We need to subtract 1. Why? Because in this thing, right, if you put y is equal to 1, this becomes 0 in the denominator. Now, once again, student, again, whatever we have got here, this was not the actual question. We got this while we were doing the simplification of the question. In the actual question, y minus 1 in the denominator is not at all there. So whatever exceptions we are getting here, whether this exception or whether it is the exception of the endpoints, you should compulsorily check whether it is okay or not okay with the question. We are subtracting y is equal to 1. Let us see what happens if I put y is equal to 1 here. Let us do that. If y is equal to 1, then what will happen? I will say 1 is equal to x square minus x plus 1 divided by x square plus x plus 1. Okay, cross multiply and try to simplify. You would get x square plus x plus 1 is equal to x square minus x plus 1. That is, student, this will get cancelled, 1 will get cancelled, you will get x is equal to minus x, or 2x is equal to 0, or x is equal to 0. Yes, so finally, student, when I put y is equal to 1, I'm getting x is equal to 0. That means, student, you should indeed not remove this value of 1. Yes, you should not remove this value of 1. Okay, why you should not remove this value of 1, student? Because, see, the original question is this. The question was to find the range of this function. The meaning of range of this function is find all the possible values of y when you put the suitable values of x here from the domain of this function. Now, as you can see here, student, we got when x is equal to 0, y value is 1. If you just look at the question carefully, if I put x is equal to 0, these two will become 0, and even these two will become 0. We would only get 1 by 1. And that 1 by 1 is, student, 1. And obviously, student, 1 is a possible value of y. Yes. Now, range is nothing but, student, collection of all the possible value of this expression, which is basically y. And when I put a specific value of x is equal to 0, this expression will become 1. Hence, one of the outcome of this expression is 1 also. So in the final answer, that 1 should be included. Okay, fine. So actually, student, the correct way of solving this question is, right, see, the moment you realize that you're getting, y minus 1 in the denominator, you should consider this as case 1, right? You can consider this as case 1 in which y is assumed to be not equal to 1, because whatever analysis we are doing here, it becomes meaningless if there's a possibility that y is equal to 1. So we need to assume that y is not equal to 1. This is case 1. Okay, then the case 2, student, we need to check what will happen if we assume y is equal to 1. Okay, so this is the correct way of solving this. If y is equal to 1, after doing this, if we get a final conclusion which is not acceptable, like in the previous case, right, when we put y is equal to 2, we got an answer which is not acceptable. So such value should be removed. The value should not be removed because of, your intermediate form of the question. Okay, you should remove a value if and only if your original form of the question is having a problem. Okay, when I put 2 here, you're getting a problem here. That is why we need to remove this 2. Okay, fine. So otherwise, you can do this question also like that also. You can consider this as case 1 when we are assuming y is not equal to 2. Case 2, when y is equal to 2, it is creating a problem, hence that should not be considered. Okay, fine students. So I hope that you understood how to solve this kind of question. In case 1, it is subtracted, but in case 2, it is included. So the final answer is from case 1 and 2. From case 1 and 2, the final answer is y belongs to all the values from 1 by 3 to plus 3. Okay, so there's no need of subtracting anything. Okay, fine students. So this is how you will find the maximum and minimum value of all the possibilities of a rational function in which you may get one of these categories. Okay, I have not solved any example of linear by quadratic or quadratic by linear. Those questions will be exactly similar to this. When you try to cross multiply this, you will get a linear on the left side. There's already a quadratic on the right side. As a whole, you will get one quadratic equation in terms of x. To separate out that x, you should use the formula, and then whatever square root you get, you should make sure that this quantity is non-negative. That's it. Okay, fine students. So I hope that you understood how to solve this kind of question. Okay, now students, I think I will require another 5 to 10 minutes. There are some interesting previous year JEE Mains question. So let us solve this, then we are done. Okay, the chapter is over. Let us wind up the chapter with some interesting previous year question. Okay, solve this. Read the question carefully and try to solve. Maximum, it may go up to 325 or 330. Okay, fine. So what is given in the question here? The number of all the positive integrals. So whenever you get some condition, it is better to underline. Okay, only positive integral of alpha for which the root of this quadratic equation are rational numbers. Yes. Now we all know that student, the meaning of rational number is if we are in a position to write a number as ratio of two integers. Okay, such numbers are called as rational. The quadratic equation given in the question is this. Now the question is student, obviously alpha is unknown here. Maybe when we put some values of alpha, maybe this entire equation will give a solution which is basically a rational number. And when I put some other specific values of alpha, maybe I'll get the solution of this equation which is having irrational terms. Okay, so now student, they're saying that what are the possible values of alpha I can put so that the solution is rational. So it is very simple student. See, the solution of this equation is given by x is equal to, what would you say? This is obviously a, b, and then c. So you would say student, negative of b plus or minus root of b square minus 4 times of a into c. So a is 6 and then c is alpha, whole divided by 2 into a. Okay, actually student, this entire thing is not required. But anyway, maybe some of you are solving, or maybe most of you are might be seeing this kind of question for the first time. That is why I'm showing the entire thing, right? By default, right, you will be solving any quadratic equation with the help of this formula, right? And maybe by little bit of simplification, the next line looks like this: root of 121 minus 24 alpha divided by 12. Yes. Now we know that student, they're saying that whatever this x is there, whatever the solution is there, this should be, rational. This should be rational. This is the condition given in the question. As you can see here, student, you already have a rational number here and a rational number here. If at all this whole thing has to become rational, we should not get any irrational here, because if there is any irrational here, that cannot be, handled by these two. That irrational with this rational will finally be rational. So the only thing we should make sure it's student, this particular thing is not something like root. That means student, whatever is inside this should be a perfect square, right? Whatever is inside this, if that becomes a perfect square, yes, that is correct, Pranav, right? this should become a perfect square or 0 also. In that case, this root will not come into picture, because if there's a perfect square, that square and root cancels. Okay, so maybe students, if you didn't knew this condition, you can just write this separately. I think I have said this already. Roots are rational. I think I have said it right in one of the note. I have said roots are rational would mean discriminant should be perfect square. Okay, is perfect square. Now when I say perfect square, student, you should understand that even 0 is a perfect square. 0 is a perfect square of itself. Okay, fine. Let us now take this and see what are the values of alpha we can put so that this is perfect square. 121 minus 24 alpha should be a perfect square. Now student, yes Vishwa, that is correct. Now students, some of you may think that this might be a lengthy question. No students, because there is no other hint given, we may have to do it trial and error method. Maybe we should put some value of alpha here and check whether this is a perfect square or not. In the question they have given another hint, student, the alpha should be only positive integral. That means we will directly start our discussion with 1. Okay, because this alpha is positive integer. That means student, we should just put alpha is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, like this dot dot dot, and then we should check whether this is perfect square or not. Let us do this, student, and I hope that student you can easily understand. After a certain value, for example, let's say that alpha is 10. If alpha is 10, student, this will basically become greater and this will become smaller. So that means this is going to be a negative. And if this becomes negative, student, it cannot be a perfect square. That means, student, it will not be very much time consuming. Maybe after certain value of lambda, once this becomes negative, we need to stop there, because a negative number cannot be a perfect square. Okay, yes, Vishwa, that is correct. So let us just do this. If I put alpha is equal to 1, I would get 121 minus 24 into 1. Yes, what will be the answer here, student? Just do it. 24, you will get 797. Next, 121 minus 24 into 2. So this will be 48. 121 minus 48, there will be 3 here, 11. So you'll be getting here 8. Okay, so you'll be getting 83. I think I have made a mistake, just a minute. Yeah, 73. Next, if I put 3, I will get 121 minus 24 into 3. What will happen, student? I'll be now getting 121, 24 into 3 is 72. Okay, so if I just subtract the 72, you will get 11 here, which is 4, and you'll get 11 here, which will be 9. Yes, you got a perfect square. Okay, so don't stop here, because the question was not to find the number. The question was how many such positive integers of alpha are possible. Okay, maybe there are some more values after this. So maybe I will check the next value. 24 into 4. 24 into 4 is 96. 121 minus 96, 5, 25. Yes, so this is also a perfect square. And finally, students, if I put 5, 121 minus 24 into 5. 24 5s are 120, so you'll get exactly 1. Right? Beyond this, student, it is not required, because you can easily understand that it is going to be a negative number, right? So this will be 6 here. This is 144, right? Since this is bigger than this, it is negative. So you don't have to check beyond this. Okay, that is not required. As you can see here, student, all these 3 are perfect square. Okay, hence the answer for this question is 3. Okay, the question was how many positive values of alpha? How many positive values of alpha exist so that this is a perfect square, right? You got perfect square for 3 values of alpha, which is 3, 4, 5. Hence, the number of values is 3. Okay, fine, students. So I hope that everyone understood this. Okay, so let us go to the next question. The next one is also very interesting question. And that is also very, very important, from your examination point of view, final JEE Mains and JEE Advanced examination point of view. Okay, so this is 2012 question, very nice question. So just look at this and think about it. Try to solve this. So they're saying that student, there's an equation here. They're saying that this equation has 1 root, 4 root, infinite roots, or no roots. Okay, fine. So the moment you look at this student, you should understand that, you can make it simple by making this e to the power of sin x as y. Yes, this is e to the power of sin x, and this e to the power of minus sin x is nothing but 1 divided by e to the power of sin x. That is, your question is e to the power of sin x minus 1 by e to the power of sin x minus 4 is equal to 0. Right? A negative power when goes to denominator becomes positive. Okay. So now student, you can easily understand that you have solved this kind of equation in your schools also, right? You can simplify this by making a substitution that e to the power of sin x is equal to some other variable, maybe t or y. So the question reduces to y minus 1 by y minus 4 is equal to 0. That is student, y square, okay, minus 1 minus 4y whole divided by y is equal to 0 by simplifying this. That is not possible, Srinivas, right? I'll come back to that. Okay, that is not possible. Okay, if you just cross multiply this 4, what would you get? Y square minus 4y minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so now student, this is basically a quadratic equation, right? If you can factorize it, well and good. If you cannot, then you can go for formula. That is, y is equal to minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4 into a into c. Yes, Pranav, maybe that is correct, but what is your final conclusion, right? What is the final conclusion, Pranav? Divided by 2 into a, right? So this is nothing but student equal to 4 plus or minus 16 plus 4, okay, divided by 2. So this can further be written as student 4 plus or minus 2 root 5 divided by 2, right? This will be 20. So that 20 can be written as, right, you'll be getting somewhat like root 20, which can be written as 4 into 5. That is same as 2 root 5. Okay, fine. So now students, we can cancel 2, right? And you'll be getting 1 here. So the final answer is 2 plus or minus root 5. So this is the value of y. Okay, fine. Now after you get this student, this much everyone will get. There's no doubt in that. The main thing is student, what is the conclusion that you draw after this? Remember student, this y was not the actual question. We have taken this only for our simplification. The actual meaning of y is e to the power of sin x, right? Which is equal to student, right? We can consider it as 2 plus root 5, or it should be 2 minus root 5. Okay, now comes the main thing. Look at this very question carefully. So now students, if you just look at this carefully, you should be knowing the approximate value of root of 5. What is the approximate value of root of 5, students? Yes, do you know? So it is roughly 2.236. Okay, you're supposed to know. I have asked you to remember this in the initial classes. Square root at least up to 10 is must. As you can see here, it is required in the actual JEE Mains question. Fine. If you roughly remember that, square root of 5 is roughly 2.236. Let us just consider first 2 digits. One possibility is 2 plus 2.2. Other possibility is 2 minus 2.2. So that would be students, either it is 4.2 or it is minus 0.2. Remember student, you're doing a bigger number with a smaller number subtraction, so it will be negative. Yes. So now students, we have e to the power of sin x is equal to this. So what is the conclusion, student? What is the conclusion from this? So should we conclude that there are two solutions, first solution and then the second solution? Okay, Fine. So now students, the correct answer is there is no real solution for this. Why? See here, you don't have just x here. If you had a x here, then e to the power of x is equal to this is meaningful. But since you have sin x here, student, e to the power of sin x, e to the power of sin x can never be this and it can never be this. The second one is ruled out, right? E to the power of sin x is equal to negative of 0.2 is ruled out because any exponential function can never be a negative. Yes, because the height at any point for an exponential function cannot be negative, right? The exponential function will be either like this, right? If the base is greater than 1. If the base is less than 1, it will be like this. Okay, in any case, for any point, the height will not be negative. That means e to the power of sin x can never be equal to a negative sign. Okay, because all the heights are positive. This graph will never cross down. So that is the reason why this is ruled out. You cannot get a negative value. Not only that, student, even this first thing is not possible. Why it is not possible, student? No matter what value of x you put here, no matter what value of x you put here, the value of sin x will always lie between -1 and +1, right? So even if we consider the extreme values, let us see what is the extreme values of this. E to the power of -1 and then e to the power of +1. Now e to the power of -1 is 1 by e and then e to the power of +1 is this, right? So now e to the power of, e is nothing but roughly 2.7. Yes, we know that, student, 1 by e, right? So we know that 1 by e will be, some decimal point. We don't want the actual value because e is greater than 1. And the value of e, we surely know that, student, it is 2 point something. Yes, that means, student, for any value of x that we put here, sin x will always lie between -1 and +1. Hence, whatever value of x you put, it will always lie between these two. That means, student, this e to the power of sin x, it can surely give fractional values up to 2.7, but it cannot give a value which is greater than 2.7 or less than this value. Okay, and obviously, student, this value is surely greater than 2.7, right? E to the power of any. So remember, student, when I say sin x, it is like e to the power of some 0.5 because sin x is basically some fractional values. So e to the power of any fractional values, including -1 and +1, can never be equal to this. Hence, student, even this is also not possible, right? This is also not possible. This is also not possible. Okay, fine, students. So I hope that everyone understood. So the correct answer for this question is no real solution, right? There's no value of x which is, which can act as solution of this. Okay, so are you tired, student? I had one last question for today, then we are done with this chapter. Okay, yes, students, so you had a lot of patience, right? Compared to many other students, you have a lot of patience. So maintain your patience for another 5 minutes. This is the last question. After this, there's one more question, that is the homework, which is exactly similar to the question which you are solving now. Okay, I have also marked the answer. Answer is option 2. This you can try on your own. Okay, so let us solve this last question. I think it will take some 3 to 4 minutes. Fine, look at this question. Okay, if the roots of the quadratic equation are alpha and beta, then what can be the value of this? So there is no doubt, student, this is related to symmetric function of roots. I hope you remember, student, the concept of symmetric function of roots, right? From the quadratic equation, we can directly get sum of the roots and product of the roots. With the help of that, we can find the symmetric function of alpha and beta. But this looks, somewhat different than whatever, we have solved in our regular class, right? But still, student, you can surely solve this with the help of the same concept. Yes, first thing, so I can directly say that, student, right, there's A here, right, we have A here, B here, C. I can directly say sum of the roots is minus B by A, that would be minus of minus 64 divided by 1. That would be student 64. And the product of the roots would be C, right? C by A, which is 256 by 1. That is 256. Okay. So if you remember that this is 2 to the power of 6, and if you remember that this is 2 to the power of 8, that will be more beneficial, right? I have asked you in the beginning of the classes that you need to remember 2 to the power of up to 10 and even 3 to the power of up to 10. That will be useful. Fine. Anyway, even if you don't remember, you can solve this, not a problem. Fine. So now student, the question is, what is the value of this? Now, if you look at this expression very carefully, this is alpha to the power of 3 by 8 divided by beta to the power of 5 by 8. I have used the laws of indices. This whole power will attack this, and this whole power will also attack this. After that, this will get multiplied with this, and this will also get multiplied with this. So it will finally result in 3 by 8 here, 5 by 8 here, right? So with the similar analysis, even for the second term, you will get beta to the power of 3 by 8 divided by alpha to the power of 5 by 8. Okay. So now students, right, we just, obviously this doesn't look like something in terms of sum and product. You might be remembering, student, whenever you get a question like this, we should try to write this question in terms of only sum and product, and it is possible. Fine. So it doesn't look like we have any clue here, but yes. So what we can do is we can directly go ahead with taking the LCM. And the shortcut for taking LCM is just do the cross multiplication like this. This with this, this with this, and this with each other. That would result in, student, alpha to the power of 3 by 8 plus 5 by 8. Yes. Plus beta to the power of 3 by 8 plus 5 by 8 divided by beta to the power of 5 by 8, alpha to the power of 5 by 8. How did I get this, student? When this alpha is going next to this, the bases will be same. If the bases are same, the power adds. Same thing happened when this is going here. So we'll be getting, bases same, power adds, and then denominator is this. So now, student, if you look at this very carefully, it is nothing but alpha to the power of 3 plus 5 by 8 plus beta to the power of 3 plus 5 by 8. In the denominator, student, it is already in terms of product, whole to the power of 5 by 8. Yes. Okay, Vishwa is saying that option B is correct. Vishwa, I'm not sure. Check it once again. We'll get the answer. Pranav is saying that 32. I'm not sure, Pranav. 32 is not in the option. You might have made some small mistake. Check again. Fine. So now, students, right? Yes, because the powers are same. You can take that whole power and you can club the bases. Fine. Now, students, this can further be said as what I did here is, since the denominator is same, we can take the LCM, which will be 8, and then I'm adding this. So finally, this is equal to alpha to the power of 8 by 8. So remember, I can cancel these two. I can cancel these two. It is just alpha power 1 and then beta power 1. So that is nothing but, student, alpha plus beta divided by alpha beta to the power of 5 by 8. Yes, student, we can easily solve this. The sum of the root is already given in the question, 2 power 6 or 64. Right, let me write 64 only. Divided by alpha beta, the product of the roots is 2 power 8. Or maybe 256 or maybe 2 power 8 I can write. That will be useful here. Okay, this whole to the power of 5 by 8 is there. Right, so the final answer is, student, this is equal to 2 to the power of 6 divided by 2 to the power of 8 into 5 by 8. Okay, so when you have whole power, that will get multiplied with the inner power. That is the rules of, this thing. So this and this will get cancelled out. So the final answer is 2 power 6 by 2 power 5, and that is nothing but 2, right? So 5 power will get cancelled, only 1 will be there, 2 power 1, which is 2. Okay, students, so this completes the class, and thank you for your patience. If you want, you can take the screenshot, or I'll be uploading this immediately. Okay, you can take a screenshot. It is exactly like the previous question, right? You may have to cross multiply this and simplify, and then you can get all the values in terms of sum and product. Answer is this. Okay, fine. Okay, students, so that's it. This completes your quadratic equation, right? Class is over. Yeah, if you have any doubt, you can stay back and clarify. Otherwise, you can take the break. Thank you.